Good evening. Welcome to the webcast. It's just another fair day. Grabbing a couple more images here. I was loading up some soundings, and we're going to look at that for Friday and Saturday. And I'll show you another way of looking at instability and moisture rather than just looking at the upper air charts. So let's go ahead and start that, and got to get my frames all ready, and maybe we should start with a bit of digital atmosphere. So let me get that set up. All right, there we go. Digital atmosphere is coming up, and I'm going to go ahead and grab just the synoptic data. I'm going to get the meteor observations, and that's going to be coming up here shortly. It actually takes about a good 30 minutes to put these webcasts together, and we're just now getting the current surface data. So we got south flow coming in from the Gulf, but as you can see, the dew points are still on the dry side. 29 there at Tyler, 33 at DFW, and 20s all through I-20. And only when we get down to the Gulf down here along the coast, we pick up the 50s, and that's it right there around Corpus Christi, 57. But that's going to continue increasing over the next couple of days as we get more of that deeper return moisture coming in. Okay, pressures and pressure lines in the fronts. Shows it's pretty quiet. The weather is controlled mostly by this high pressure there in Louisiana. So anywhere west of that, we've got south flow. So we're bringing up this warm front into Kansas, and I suspect we've actually got maybe a little bit more cold air to go to erode out of Texas and Oklahoma. So I think maybe that position is a little bit off. I would put that well down to the south. And out in the western U.S., looks like we got a front moving inland. This is pretty far north up there in the Seattle area. And elsewhere, pretty quiet. Checking on the thermal structure, looks like they've changed the maps a little bit. There's what we have at this time. And we've got pretty much a gradient all the way down to Texas right there. So I would probably be thinking of maybe a front somewhat like that there. And that connects back up into the Wyoming and Nevada area. And that other front, I think we would probably go with a position right from Nevada into Southern California, maybe something like that. And this frontal system here, that's up north of the tighter gradient down to the south. So I'm not too sure that position here is very representative. Okay, heading into the other charts. Trying to think of what we should look at next. I'm going to get these Meteo Center charts to come up for some reason. I've been using these for upper air analysis for a little while there. Their site doesn't seem to be too responsive, but we can always go to SPC. So let's bring that up, and we'll take a look at the 300 millibar flow there. So we can see that the strongest baroclinicity is in the eastern U.S. Jet stream from Minnesota down to southern Carolina there. And winds associated with that up to about 100 and I think that's about 110 there in Illinois. Out to the west, though, ridging, very large long wave ridge coming into the southwestern U.S. there. And let's see what we can find as far as waves. Probably have to use some of the other charts for that. So anyway, we've got a bit of ridging starting to build into the plains and the Rockies there. All right, well, we've got some changes coming up for the next couple of days. We've got moisture lurking just to the south, so we're starting the beginning of a cycle of moisture coming in and maybe some severe weather in a couple of days here. Soundings for Fort Worth at this time. Don't have any data from them just yet. We'll try Corpus Christi. We'll get down into some of the deeper moisture there. Don't have any data for Corpus Christi either. So I'm going to go back to 12Z. And there's how Corpus Christi looked this morning. Very shallow moisture there. Just off the surface, a couple thousand feet, you can see dew points were down around 0 Fahrenheit. Up above, a couple of elevated moist layers, one at about 10,000 feet, another at about 22,000, so this is going to be a little bit of cirrus up there, associated with the subtropical jet. The sister station over to the west, Del Rio, also reporting some of that cirriform cloud right there. Base is at about 19,000 feet and some fairly dry air beneath that, in spite of this southeasterly flow at about 20 to 30. And then up at Fort Worth, also dry. And there's those bases there of those clouds. So, might as well take a look at them. There they are, quite a bit of cirrus clouds across Texas all the way back to the Rockies. And we can also look at that on the water vapor imagery. So, going with this, we can get a general idea of maybe where the subtropical jet is. Might be looking at something like that for that subtropical jet, and then the polar front jet. Probably just a little bit farther north than that, somewhere in this area here, I would suspect. All right. Oh yeah, we actually analyzed that a little further north, so we're going to put that up there. And then a look out in the Pacific. Got a couple of upper-level lows out there. One about 1,000 miles off the California coast, and another one almost all the way to Hawaii there. And we're getting into Kona storm season, so we'll have to start keeping an eye on Hawaii there. If this was a little further south, that probably would be a Kona storm. And on the backside of that, we've got north winds, so that really brings the surf up there in Hawaii. All right, we'll put that on the west coast there and see how things are looking in chat. Got kind of a quiet evening. Thursday is typically kind of like that. Got David Holcomb here and Shirley Keast, Mike Estwick, Fun with Tech, Burl H, Justin Pulliam, Sue M, Ryan Toomeys, let's see here, Electric Dog also checking in. We are now held accountable here at Weather Graphics. I'm trying to figure out what that's about there. Oh, notification or chat will be saved permanently. I've been saving the chat for about 3 months now. Maybe actually 5 months. I've got some files in here. I never really look at them, but in case I have to go back and get information, I try to keep track of that there. Mike Estrick reporting 64 in Denver with the sunny skies. How do we get on your mailing list? That would be at the weathergraphics.com site. Under the contact link, there's going to be this, let's see, did we take that? No, it's still there. See down here at the bottom, Weather Graphics announcements and Digital Atmosphere announcements list. And we do use that from time to time, so you can get announcements about new products, or I actually need to use this here. The Digital Atmosphere announcements list. Okay, live stream. Let me see what's going on here. Yeah, I was dropping some frames earlier, 1100 frames dropped. And just reading the rest of the chat. Ron Chalfant reporting Cirrus in Southern California. And let's go ahead and head back into that satellite there. There we go. So we've got kind of a flat ridge building into the southwestern U.S., so it is going to be pretty quiet. But for the webcast tomorrow, we are going to be at the potential for severe weather in Texas and Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And we'll go into some more detail on that, so you probably want to join and check that out. I may do a webcast Saturday during the day if there's going to be severe weather. I haven't really decided, but we'll just see how things look for Saturday there. Okay, so let's go ahead and head into the forecast. And I will show those soundings here shortly, but first I'll give you the general pattern, what's going to happen. I'm trying to find the chart here. Yeah, let's check out the 500 millibar frames over the next 72 hours or so. So you can see we got northwesterly flow, and you can see a couple waves moving through the flow. Here comes another one. More yellows and oranges coming in for early Saturday. So this is a little lift coming into the area. And that moves out to the east end. Looks like another area here. So we've got a fairly progressive flow. We've got northwest winds. And right around here we start seeing the polar front jet developing later on Saturday. And one pretty good wave coming south on Sunday. And that's going to be associated with the deeper cold air coming in from the central U.S. So how does that factor in for Saturday? Well, we'll back it up. You can see on Friday there's not much wave activity, just very small scale waves. In fact, we've actually got ridging there. So that's going to be affecting things Friday morning. And it's only around very early Saturday, like after midnight, we start getting some of this lift working into the area. So right here, this is going to be a trough, probably a bit of a ridge right there. This is around midnight Saturday morning. And then by 6 a.m., there's the trough. And then by noon, that trough is over here. And then we have a second one right here, and in between, some ridging. So you kind of get an idea what's happening here. The higher vorticity fields are just out ahead, like that. And then the lower vorticity amounts, the grayish colors, they tend to fall in this area here. So probably at this time during the middle of the day around Dallas, probably a little bit of very weak cap building going on. And then we're going to see this next wave probably come through later during the day. So that's going to be moving into East Texas around dusk. And then after that, into Louisiana there. And it looks like we've got a little convective blow-up in this area here. You see the lines, the heights, they get very wavy in here. So there's probably some thunderstorm activity developing there after 6 to 9 p.m. Saturday night. Okay, so that's kind of the big picture, and now let's look at the surface. I think a dew point would be a good way of looking at that. So south flow overnight, and you can see the moisture starting to come up. This is going to be the 50s dew points working their way north. And then later during the day on Friday, like around noon, 50s are all the way up to Wichita Falls, Ardmore, and Fort Worth there. And then further south, you can see 60s starting to show up. Those 60s will be up to almost San Antonio for Friday evening. And then for Saturday morning, starting to move up towards Dallas, Corsicana, Lufkin, and Brownwood. And then later during the day, on Saturday around noon, 60s all the way to the Red River, and we've got cyclogenesis just west of Fort Worth there. So the moisture axis located from about Victoria and Houston all the way up to about Paris and Sherman. And probably somewhere in here we've got maybe a cold front. Possibly a warm front, something like that right there. And somewhere in here there could be a dry line. Actually, that's the dry line. Forgot we're looking at dew points, so yeah, that's probably our dry line, and the cold front, I'm not too sure where that is. Possibly something like that. We really need to look at temperature data to know for sure. Okay, then later during the day on Saturday, in fact, we'll go up to midnight. Looks like that low is all the way in Louisiana right there. So on the backside of the low, cold air advection. And I think that's going to be the Canadian front coming south. Not too sure where the Pacific front is. There's a good chance it could be somewhere down in here near where that dry line is. And then the warm front, that's going to be somewhere back in here. So possibly during the evening on Saturday, chance of severe weather from, say, about Tyler up to Greenville, back to El Dorado, down to Monroe. This could be a severe weather region right there. And then, of course, that will move eastward for Sunday. So dry air coming in for Sunday, and the return of 40s dew points, and north wind just about everywhere in the southern U.S. right there. So it looks like things move pretty well to the southeast for Sunday. Okay, now another way we can look at this is with soundings. If any of you, oh, good grief, we've dropped some frames. Let me see what happened here. We're not dropping frames now, but I'm seeing this number. It went up from 1100 to 4400, so something happened during the webcast there. So I'm just going to keep going for now, since we're almost done. So what I'm going to do is take a look at a couple soundings, one at DFW and another at Texarkana. And I've got those queued up here. So the DFW sounding is going to look like, let me get that positioned here. So this is starting at DFW right now, and you can see it's very dry there. Dew points around 32, temperature 62. And now we're going to roll this forward. And you might want to keep an eye on the moisture and the wind, especially in the low levels right here. So we're going forward at 3-hour intervals. So you can see our dew point is coming up overnight. Winds coming out of the south up to 35 there. This is around midnight, so it looks like the low level jet is actually starting up along the Interstate 35 corridor. And now here, this has kind of a warm front appearance, or at the very least some moisture advection taking place there. And then for Friday during the afternoon, it looks like this. We've definitely moistened up the lowest 4,000 feet or so. There's some capping there up at about 6,000. And now we're going to roll forward overnight, Friday and a Saturday. So moisture coming up well up into the upper 50s to near 60. And we're starting to steepen the profile right in here. So Saturday, we've got a loaded gun sounding. And to break this cap, we're probably going to have to be up near, this is 9 a.m., but given this sounding, we would have to be up near about 88 Fahrenheit, and it's probably not going to reach that at Dallas on Saturday. However, with some upper level lift, we can push all this to the left. So let's see what happens during the afternoon. Cap strengthens. That's probably that upper level wave we were talking about, the ridge coming across. And then a little cap erosion later during the day. Looks like by 6 p.m. that cap is just about gone there. Almost. So now the amount of heating we need, we've only got to get that temperature up to about 78, 79 degrees or so. Not much cape, kind of long and skinny there. Okay, and then after that you can see north flow starting to push in, and that kind of shuts things down for Dallas. And the whole column moves over to the left. Now another sounding we can look at is Texarkana. Okay, so here's Texarkana's sounding right there. This is starting out for tomorrow at midday. And you can see that they're moistened up pretty good by evening right there. And overnight, a lot more moisture, and it looks like the cap is a little weaker in that area there. So this is probably favoring some warm air advection showers in that region. Definitely some elevated convection. And then during the day on Saturday, looks like we get a little bit of strengthening of the cap there, but overall, yeah, we steepen up pretty good right there in the lower and mid-atmosphere. So we got a little bit more cape there in the afternoon. And we don't need quite as much heating in that region. So let's see, let's look at the photographs real quick. That's up in this area here. I'm going to start out at 6 a.m. Pretty good low-level jet. See that number 1 here? That's 1 kilometer wind out of the southwest at about 30. That's contrasting very sharply with light surface winds and gives us a little bit of curvature to start out the day with that photograph. As the day goes on, the boundary layer couples a bit and the curvature shrinks a little bit. However, this tail here of the photograph here indicating a good northwesterly storm pattern. So a little bit of storm out of helicity, storm motions almost directly to the east. This is kind of a marginal to low risk day here. And it looks like with this easterly flow indicating on the photograph, the storms are probably going to parallel some of the roads that we have available. Typically when they move southwest to northeast, they're cross and diagonal across most of the roads. So on a day like this, you could probably find an east-west road fairly easily to keep up with those storms, even though it's East Texas and the Texarkana area. Your odds are just overall a little bit better with easterly movement. Okay, let's see here. I guess we'll look at the forecast from the NAM, if I can find it. Okay, there it is. Okay, putting together the forecast. Friday, south flow. Saturday, south flow again. And there's those warm air advection showers developing overnight Friday night. And then what we're watching is this area during the day, especially this region here. And the NAM goes for a couple of showers from about Longview up to Paris, and more development near Clarksville. So it looks like I-30 probably around Mount Vernon up to Texarkana. That would probably be a good starting point there. And then after dark, things move pretty quickly to the east into Louisiana there. And then behind it, cold air advection starts working into Texas. Okay, so that's about all we have for the short term. And we'll head to the GFS for the long term. Yeah, there it is. See how the stream's looking. Just a few more drop frames. Otherwise, looking good. So we'll just go ahead and finish out. There's the GFS take on the weather. Saturday, it's got that warm air advection, moist advection, and development out around the Texarkana area. And going a little bit for more of a little bit of an MCS over Arkansas, moving into Mississippi and Alabama overnight, so a little bit more pessimistic with the severe weather. And it does look like it moves pretty quickly to the east. You can see already at 6 a.m. already out in Alabama there. Going for a much deeper low there in Mississippi. I don't think the NAM was doing that. But behind it, very strong cold air advection coming in, so Monday looks to be pretty cold. 1040 high building in. And there's that easterly flow there in the Rockies. And then the next system comes in from Utah, Great Basin area around Wednesday and Thursday. You can see a little bit of it appearing there in Texas on Thursday, and then a much deeper system coming across for Friday and Saturday. This is 200 hours out, so this is still pretty early, but probably another chance of severe weather with the approach of this system on the 18th and 19th. And yeah, very deep low there in Kansas. And looks like this one may be a little bit further north. Maybe some severe weather up to Kansas City and Wichita there. And then for Sunday, things move eastward into Illinois. That's different. Things are warming up. There's our system there in the Midwest. And that moves into the northeast. Things pretty quiet in the wake of that, and looks like more cold air with this trophy appearance in the thickness field for the 21st and 22nd. And more cold air. Yeah, getting into a cold phase here for the middle of the month. There's that 540 line coming south again, and there we go, we get to the end. Okay, one last look at chat. I guess we're having some we had some stream problems earlier. I'll try to sort that out. I've been thinking about bringing in the 100 down and 10 megabit per second upload service, but you know, I really need to see a little bit more Patreon donations coming in. I'm not really ready to pull the trigger on that. I want to make sure I'm not, you know, covering a service like that completely out of my own pocket there. So we'll see how things look in the next week or two, and hopefully what we had tonight is just kind of something weird there. Okay, well, I appreciate you all watching. That's about all I got for tonight. We'll try to get geared up for tomorrow and track the severe weather. And lost my music. Where is it? There it is. Okay, very good. All right, that's all for tonight. I appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.